Tom here, FlipAnything USA. So you're about to see a video where I talk about owner financing. Now, owner financing, believe me, I've made millions of dollars in owner finance properties. I've sold them owner financed, I've bought them owner financed. In my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate, I talk a lot about owner financing. Particularly people that don't have very good credit should really be interested in this because, I mean, anybody should be, but if you don't have credit, it's fantastic because I was 19 when I bought my first property, owner financed. And I'd have never been able to do it. I didn't have any job history. I'd never made any money in my life. You know, I was just a kid. But that's what's going to be interesting in all this. And I think I get into this about keeping your mouth shut. It's important when you get a deal, you know, even the information you learn from it, you know, you don't want to share it with your neighbor or the people that are immediately in your neighborhood because they can infringe on your deals and blow it for you. And I think I get into that in this video. I can't remember for sure. But anyways, enjoy this video. The content is important. You know, it's a little rough because it's in my car, but enjoy the video. Thanks. Some of the misconceptions about owner financing, because it's actually owner financing is what started me at 19 years old. Because when you're 19, obviously, it's not likely you're ever going to get a loan. When I was 19, I'd already been out of high school for about 2 years. First job I got was picking up concrete and throwing it in the bucket of a tractor in blistering heat. And that wasn't much fun. But then one of the other jobs I had applied for, which was cabinet shop. When I'm talking about owner financing, I'm going to explain to you how I got into that and how I discovered it. Because really, that was the big thing, is that I discovered owner financing really young. I went to work for about 1.5 years, and then my employer, he started having financial troubles. It was tough times. This is like in the 80s. He lost the building that I worked in. He had to give it up. First, he'd let me go because business was tight. And then so I was self-employed working out of the back of a duplex. Soon after that, you know, I started growing my business, and then I needed more space, so I rented a building. And then the business got bad, and I ended up moving into my building because I wanted my business to survive more than anything. So I ended up living with a room within the building that I had rented for my cabinet shop, which is just an industrial space. Well, pretty soon, the landlord found out I lived in the property. And he says, "Look, Tom, I like you." He goes, "But look, this place burns down." He goes, "You're going to die, and I'm going to get sued." And so he said, you can't live here. And so I had to start looking for another place, one that I could live in, is what I was thinking. You know, reached out to some agents and looking at rentals. And then Mr. Dennis come along, a young realtor. He's probably in his 30s, early 30s then. You know, I was 19. And we take a ride and we look at some prospects, and then he comes up to one. He goes, "Well, how'd you like to buy this one?" And we pull up, and I go, "Man, I used to work here. It was my boss's old building." And I go, "Yeah, I'd like to buy it." I go, "But how am I going to buy it?" I had long hair down to my shoulders, and I had terrible allergies, and I still do. Back then, with long hair and a combination of bloodshot eyes and allergies, I looked like I was high, even though I wasn't. I felt like nobody's going to give me a job, or nobody's going to give me a loan. And he said, "Well, no." He goes, "You might be able to get owner financing on this." And he said, "The owners aren't even going to see you," because they were out-of-state owners, or out-of-town owners, I should say, way out of town. And they're somewhere in Los Angeles, and I was on the outskirts of LA. So we made this offer, $10,000 down, owner carry, and this was on a $110,000 purchase of a 6,000, it was actually 5,900 square foot building. It had about a 4,000 square foot metal building that was attached to a stucco office that was on the front street, and then this was a building in the back. The plan is that I'd get a 6-month escrow, and during escrow they would let me occupy the building. So that's what I structured my offer. This is really important because what you got to understand is anybody can get a loan. When it comes to owner financing, I don't care how old you are, how bad your credit is. Anybody can get owner financing. And so here I was, no credit. In fact, I think I got a loan back then for 27% interest to buy my truck. And you got to remember, the regular interest rate on average was about 15% back then. Anyways, that's what it was. So I was excited because I could see the prospects of buying this building. Sure enough, but the only way I could do it is I didn't have $10,000 down, number one. but I made the offer to be $10,000 down, and I put $500 down. The reason being is I got a 6-month escrow with the right to occupy the building. Well, you might say, why would anybody let you occupy the building? Well, because I put the fear in them that it was better for them to let me occupy the building during this escrow period so that the building wouldn't be vandalized, and I told them I'd clean it up and I'd keep the riffraff out. It was in an industrial area. They saw the logic in that, and there is some logic in that. It wasn't all BS. The only way I could make it work. Got them to accept that offer, and now for the next 6 months, I now was living rent-free. And that allowed me to, save bucks, rent a building anyhow, which before I think I was paying about $800. I basically just scrimped together, put $1,500 a month away until, and at the end of that 6 months, I had my down payment, boom, owner financed. And it was right after that, the for sale sign was still in front of the building during that time, and even after I closed, and I was standing up front, cleaning up the yard in the front, and some guy stopped by and said, hey, what do they want for the building? I said, well, I just bought it. And he said, what would you pay for it? And I said, I paid $110. He goes, wow. He goes, that's a great deal. He goes, man, I'll give you $130 for it right now. I didn't take it, but I thought, wow, I just made $20,000. This guy was serious, and he seemed like he was. I was going to put $20,000 in my pocket, or I could. So that was like, wow. It just took me, it took me 6 months of not paying rent to save $1,500, and now I just made $20,000 in a day. I'd already had an interest in real estate before this. I'd already read some books and looked at things before that, but now this really lit a fire under me. Like I said, I'm 19, but I'm going, wow, and I felt, wow, I own a big building. I didn't know anybody that had what I had. I was young. Friends didn't even have homes or houses. Nobody I knew had owned a home. And here I own a big building. Yeah, it doesn't matter how bad the economy is. The economy was terrible when I bought the one I bought. But so let's talk about the owner financing. And the thing is what you got to understand is there's reasons for big owner financing deals even right now. With the interest rate being so low, back when I was doing it, the interest rates were high. But with the interest rates being so low right now, people are incentivized. If you pay cash for a property I own outright, I put it in the bank, I'm only going to get 1% or 1.5% interest on it, if that. Where if I owner finance it, I can get anywhere from 5 to 10% from you carrying the note and make much, much more on my money than I would if letting the bank pay it. And the other thing, the argument I always make when I talk to people and I try to get them to owner finance for me, is I just say, hey, I'm doing it, get into your business, but what are you going to do with the money? Are you going to just put it in the bank? And if they say, yeah, we're going to put it away in the bank. And I say, well, why don't you be the bank? And they're like, huh? And I said, yeah, why don't you be the bank? I said, the money that I owe you will be secured by the property. You can take it by foreclosure if I don't pay you as agreed. That opens their eyes. And so they start to realize, gee, on a $100,000 loan, they could be getting, $5,000 or $6,000 a year from me, making, $500 a month in interest, or they can go put it in the bank and, they can get, like $100, they can get $100 a month. The thing with owner financing is there are no rules. You make the rules. You and the seller, or if you want to be the seller, and I've sold a lot of property owner finance. I've carried a note, no problem. And that's actually one of the easier ways that I make the case that somebody else should carry owner financing. I show them all the notes that I have. Well, at one time, when I was 28, I had over $10,000 a month coming in individual notes. And this was mostly from owner finance land that I bought and resold. I'd buy a property, say, for $10,000. I put $5,000 down. I'd resell the property for anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000. So I'd create a note for $5,000 to $15,000, and then people would start making payments to me on that note. They'd assume the first, or I'd pay off the first with their down payment, and then I would just have their note coming in. And in the form of, secured by a first trust deed. Sometimes I have the note secured in the form of a second trust deed if they assume the first. But it was all these, I probably went through 100 lots. And in that time, I probably was carrying, 40 notes maybe. $100 to $200 a month coming in. I got a fantastic deal. I found a 70-acre piece of property. And the owner, he was willing to owner finance. And I asked him, I said, well, hey, I always like the seller to put their value on the property first, because it might be even less than I'm willing to pay. That one, the owner said, well, I think it's worth millions. And I started to feel like maybe he was conning me, okay? He was an old guy. But he really felt that it would be worth millions. And he's right. I'm sure it is worth millions now. But anyways, it was worth, he said he'd sell it to me for $2,000 an acre, $140,000. I put $35,000 down, and he carried the balance of $105,000, probably at 10% or something like that. And over a period of 5 or 7 years or something like that. So I bought that, and I immediately sold that property. Like within 3 or 4 weeks, I sold that property. From the time I closed it, I sold it for $510,000. I think it was 510 or 520. I think it was 520. But I made like $350,000, maybe a little more than that. Yeah, a little more than that, because I had to pay out commissions to agents and stuff. So I probably paid $30,000 to agents, and I don't know, I probably put another $70,000 back in my pocket, and now I had a note coming in for $2,450 a month. And by the way, that's all in my book. Which, by the way, if I got a great testimonial on my book. If you go into Kindle, you can get this on Kindle for $10. There's a really nice video testimonial. This guy's an appraiser and an educator, and he teaches classes and everything else, and he said he's bought hundreds of books, and he bought my book. He said he's never recommended a book before, but he highly recommended my books. And another written one I saw, and I don't know, it's a heck of a testimonial. And yeah, if you have any apprehensions, please go to Kindle and look for his Jeb Fuller. Look for his testimonial, because it's a good one, and I appreciate it, Jeb, if you're watching the video. Again, $10, fantastic investment. It's got everything in there, pretty much how I made my first million, and really probably how I made 10, 20 million after that. It's all pretty much all done the same way, but a lot of this owner financing, people are incentivized to do owner financing today, is because the banks pay so little. The banks used to give 10% interest on your savings. It was crazy when they used to charge 15% for a loan, back when I was a kid. Now money's cheap. Money is so cheap. If I can get somebody to carry a note for 5%, I mean, I can get it cheaper. Right now, I can get loans in the 4s right now on big commercial buildings, on houses, even cheaper. If I was somebody that didn't have any credit, and even if I have credit, I'll gladly take a 5% owner carried note, just because I know I'm going to be able to sell it to somebody else, and they can assume that note. I bought a restaurant one time, $50,000 down, paid $750,000 for it. And that $700,000, they financed it 3% interest. I think the payment was $2,100 or $2,200 a month on a $700,000 loan. It made it very easy for me to resell that property, because by having owner financing. You're in Jackson, Tennessee, and you're saying the real estate economy isn't booming a lot. Listen, it wasn't booming; it was dying. When I started, it was terrible time. That's why I lost my job. Business was bad. They'd overbuilt in the area. Interest rates were high. I mean, it was a mess. So don't think that you have to have a good economy to make money. You don't. There's a lot of advantage to, like right now, and I'm going to have to do another video later today about this coronavirus and what's positive about it for you as an investor. And there are a lot of positives, but I'll give you a real quick scenario. So I got 3 houses over here. I actually have 5 empty houses right now. I'm thinking about, so here's the advantages. I'm going to sell those. I'm not going to owner finance. I want cash for those. Now, I may be taking a little bit of a hit, because the stock market takes a hit. People get nervous. Even if they have money, they get a little bit nervous and they want to hang on to their money. I understand that. I'm a little bit that way myself. But I'm still going to sell these properties. And even let's just say I'm hoping to get $600,000 for some of these. Each house, they're worth on average $500,000 to $600,000 a piece. Even if I have to sell them 10% less than that, or even 20% less than that, I don't want to sell a $500,000 home for $400,000 right now. But relative to the market, it doesn't really matter, because if the whole market is affected, then my $400,000 is still worth $500,000, because when I buy from somebody else, they're also taking a 20% hit. In a down market, it's fine to buy. You're buying based on value. You need to buy it under value. So it doesn't matter, like if these houses that I got, if everything's great, they're $500,000. Everything gets shaky now. $400,000 seems to be the mark. If 400,000 seems to be the shaky mark, I'm going to buy 30% under that, or I'm not going to buy. Because that's how I buy. I buy under market. So I want to know that relative to whatever it's worth today, I can sell it tomorrow and make a profit. I'm not much of a speculator. And you'll see I maintain and hold about roughly 150,000 square feet of rentals. Those rentals are all nearly paid for now, and they make money, whether the economy's bad or not. If somebody struggles, I'll cut the rent if I have to, so they can survive. Well, I can survive, because I don't want to have to look for a new tenant in bad times either. Anyways, I think I got off subject here a little bit. Hit that notification button. We'll do more live events. One of the misconceptions is, that you got to be a certain age. You got to be 18, I think, in general, in all states to buy property. One of the best things is you don't need credit. And here's the other thing. If once you get your owner financing in place and you got it carried, you've kind of taken care of the financing for somebody else. Or whatever that loan is, that usually, unless you put in a typical owner financing, there's not going to be a due on sale clause. They're just not going to put it in. They're not going to think about it. But so that allows you to sell the property and let somebody assume your note. And so they can just walk in and take over the note. The other thing is if you do have trouble and you do fall behind in your payments, let's say you have a couple of lates on your owner finance loan, it doesn't show. It's not of record. It's not going to be, it's not going to go on your TRW or whatever they call the thing today. It's not going to reflect in your credit score because they're just not dialed in like a bank. It's not even of record. People won't even know it necessarily. So a lot of really good things about owner financing. Anyways, I just wanted to get into that, and we'll talk more about this coronavirus stuff and how it can affect the market. Really, right now, it's just fear. It's just fear. The main thing that does is it makes people pause before spending and they hang on to their money, and that's understandable. But at the same time, people that are ready to sell, guess what? It makes them think, I got to get out, and they jump the price down. I'll give you an example. I had a property. I made an offer the other day, or 460, I think I offered actually, and they came back, 620 or 650. Somebody blew it and offered full price that they were asking for it, and then they backed out. So now these people got it in their head that they're going to get a big fat check. They're not. Later went back, offered I think 510 or 525, and they came back 560. Well, then this coronavirus stuff happened. I didn't hear from them. I said, nah, forget it. We ain't going to touch it. And then later on, all of a sudden, we didn't even ask them, and they came back and they said, hey, how about 530? So they went way down from where they were. That's what I say. It's because they realized, oh man, this is getting ugly. We better get out of this thing while we can. And all of a sudden, the lower offers look much more attractive to them than they had before. So I hope you enjoyed that. So look, get the book. The book's $10 to $20, Amazon and Kindle. Listen, certainly invest 10 or $20 in getting yourself knowledgeable and understanding real estate before you go spend hundreds or thousands or 10,000 at one of these crazy seminars where they screw you. Don't fall for that crap. Thanks for watching. Wake up and smell the real estate. Anyways, that's it for now. So please share, subscribe.